to put some goo on that. Fixing up the lodge kitchen could be part of the kitchen project, you know, to get us to functional kitchens. So stage 1, fix lodge kitchen as much as possible. Stage 2, fix any systems on the terraza as needed. I have a wood-fired stove, a wood-fired oven. The wood-fired stove has a fairly bad design. I designed it. I think we should dig in on the sides of it and make it so you can get to the sides of that stove. And actually then make a little, you know, rock edging along there as well, so that you can even sit down if you wanted to over there. Basically expand the terraza slightly into that space. Dig it in. And then replace the roof, because the roof is broken. So stage 1 is fix current systems. Stage 2 is build. Stage 2 is actually get GoSun solar ovens and promote those in the community, get a wholesale price on them, get the sponsors. That is the right technology for cooking at a smaller scale. And I could rent those out here. I could sell them. I could be a representative of it. Evacuated tube, solar hot water heating, and cooking are the way to go currently. You know, I have moving parts, you know, I have photoelectric, you know, I have batteries. GoSun is one company. There are others that some people who sell bigger ones. Now people are making ones with multiple ones in a row, in a little rack or something. I've never even seen one of these, but my friend bought one and she used it a lot. And I understand physics, and I have a hot water heater that isn't for cooking, but it heats water up so much it'll burn your hand. It will boil water. If an oven can be created, and this is a project, this is, I guess, a kitchen project ultimately, is you could have a shady thing that doesn't shade your tubes, right? You got your tubes on the ground, they're right there. And it can just be maybe slightly dug in a little lower, but not much. And then protect it so things don't run into it, you know. But that guy's going to get really hot. So now you've got a source of really hot water that you can not just put a tube into or something like the GoSun things, but you can have an oven. And you want a shaded thing. Maybe it's a tarp, or maybe later you build it as a whole building. This thing's south-facing. So you're getting the hardcorest heat of the day. So you only can cook during part of the day with this thing. But it does have a big thermos, and so actually it does extend beyond that. So you could have a skillet on top, and like I talked about, we could have things that we have pots that we put into it. So we've got different things that these things could do. I mean, I'm almost imagining, and this is all portable, which is so cool, because you know, we're experimenting, right? But make a kitchen for now that's just some tarp pop-ups, right? We could almost use Costco type structures, you know, carport structures, or something substantial, but not, I mean, we're experimenting here. Face them the right way. Put things down to block the sun to not hit the person. Okay, the person who's using the skillet, make one with it as a skillet. So you've just got any kind of metal thing that is immersed into this hot water bath. And it could be one of those comal type things that are flat. They use these when they make tacos. They have a little dimple in the middle. And that seems like it's like a kind of almost like a little bit of a hint of a walk, you know, and then you've got this flat space around it. It seems like an interesting mix of options. And that if you were going to cook just whatever the heck you wanted to, and you could experiment, this is the exciting thing, with a little solar hot water heater that only had 2 tubes. The tiniest one. You could even experiment with the demo ones that they have that are this big. That seems like a little silly, but then again, isn't that exactly what we want to do, is make smaller things? And the difference is that what I'm proposing is that you're not putting a tube into the thing, you're using the water from it, and water is very flexible. And so we can heat up an oven really easy. I mean, the engineering behind this is cake. Now, if you have a right kind of connection of this system to the hot water heater, which is easy, then you can have all three of these things. The pots that go in the water bath, right? And maybe you just have two pots. Maybe we keep this kind of simple. And we make those things like I talked about with the inside pot being one you can pull out. You could also have ones that don't have holes in them, but they go into this water. That would actually cause the water to spill over. So maybe you make two different ones, but one of them is made to pull stuff out of like that and keep the water hot. And the other one is maybe a pot where you pull the whole pot out. The thing I don't like about that is now I'm losing heat. So I don't like that. This is a little bit of a conundrum. I want two things and they conflict. This is an engineering problem. You could just accept the loss of the energy. That's the easiest thing to do. You could pull the pot off and then immediately have this perfectly fitted wooden thing you can put over it to insulate it. But then people don't always use things the right way. That's the best option I can think of at the moment. The skillet should be simple. We talked about that. The oven, we could actually take an existing oven that's junk, or something. It's already built like an oven, right? It's already an oven. That's a huge win as opposed to anything else we have to make. And then figure out how to run copper tubing all the way through it in the inside where the insulation is, or inside somewhere. Or we build an oven insert. But the point is that the hottest water coming off that hot water heater should all be inside those tubes. And the hot water will just always keep coming up. So it's always going to be the hottest place. And then you have your valve where you can turn that off. You can turn that water connection off and your oven will go down in temperature. You need to put a really good thermometer on it, maybe two, since I don't trust thermometers. And then you could bake bread all day. Right now, people use wood to fire up a thing. It's very traditional. It's very cool. I can send you to my friend's house. You can do it. I respect it, and it's wonderful. But they have to go gather the wood. That's a bunch of work. They have to carry the wood in wheelbarrows. Some of these ladies around here are strong. You see them carrying wood around in wheelbarrows to fire up often their stove, or in the case of the bread things, often you go in a pickup truck and you get bigger logs. And just to cook bread for a few hours, because it heats up the thermal mass of the dome, right? That is really cool and traditional. But what if you had an oven that was, under this oven you could put a fire assist. That can be another thing. Design-wise, we need to plan for that. You could have a tiny little firebox, but that's not the win. And we want the win. So consider that, put it as an addendum as the fire assist and planning for that. But let's do it all solar. That means that even on a cloudy day, you could cook a lot of kinds of things. And here, most of the year has sun. So this is going to depend on a lot of things. My elevation is very good. Surprisingly, it doesn't matter if it's really cold out. Because it's an evacuated tube thing, if you're in Montana and it's snowy, you are going to find that you can still use solar cooking with evacuated tubes because you're getting that radiation coming in, hitting the black thing, and that vacuum keeps all the heat inside. So what I'm on, stage 2 is solar. Experiment with solar cooking. That I say is stage 2. And then try and build those 3 systems. That's stage 3. So buying commercial products is stage 2, experimentation. Stage 3 is build these 3 systems. Those are a great size, actually. They're not super portable, depending on how many tubes that thing has. But they're very independent. And there's a lot of places in the world that don't want to make a restaurant-sized kitchen. They could have a small thing that cooks better. And also, people here in town, they have flat roofs. And so they could put one of these on their roof, position it exactly correctly, or or build a roof at exactly the right spot. And that's why I mentioned the pop-ups and carports, is because we have to experiment with the angle of the sun. Once we figure it out, it'll be known. And then maybe we can go in and we can make a concrete thing or something, or even just hang drapes. Although I don't like, well, there's no fire. You know, that's the beautiful thing about this. I've mentioned all of this cooking stuff and there's no fire. That's impressive. Anyway, like I said, I don't know anything about this. I have lots of thoughts about food, and I'll do another video about food philosophy. I've already written about that quite a bit on Quora. So you can read some disorganized notes, and I need to go in and organize them and make videos about that. Access to the kitchen should be controlled. Some other crazy ideas are having parts of the kitchen where people can, I guess I'm not done talking about this yet. The rain is subsiding. All right, turn that bulb off. I never leave LED bulbs on. That's one thing, is that during the day, a lot of the LEDs, the lighting in the kitchen, we can have skylights of various kinds, but they need to be very, very well lit. Maybe I'll do kitchen stuff part 2 here.